Good morning. Welcome to Ag Talking Raw, where I talk raw about agriculture and other things that are on my mind. So, things that are on my mind today is the ever dropping corn and soybean price. Isn't that an amazing thing? So, if you're like me and you've seen the How Farms Works, the Dodge Brothers, the Welker Farms, Millennial Farmer, and countless others that have had severe damage to their crops due to, acts of God, if you want to say it that way. Wind, rain, lack of rain, then wind and hail. Hail the size of baseballs, not golf balls, baseballs. I'm sure I heard baseball size hail come from Zach Johnson's mouth. It's like, holy smokes. Zach has showed probably some of the more extensive damage in a video that he just did, and he has posted on Instagram some of the nastiness that is going on out there. And yet, the price of corn and soybeans is dropping. I sold corn, not soybeans. I didn't grow any soybeans. I sold corn here back in, May? I think it was May for $7.49 picked up. That is, to me, an insane price for corn because milk, what's milk? 16 bucks? These poor dairy farmers are just getting their asses reamed by high prices of grain. If you are in the dairy business and you don't grow your own corn, I'm sorry, your ass is grass. I don't know how this is even going to play out. Beef and pork and poultry are all going up. So if you are not a farmer and you have freezer space, and if you are a farmer and you have freezer space and you don't have your own animals, please just go fill your freezers as best you can. Take that weekend fun money that you have and fill your freezer with some kind of protein, foodstuffs. We don't know what these high prices in the long run are going to produce. I mean, it's just the way it is. So the crazy thing is that these prices are falling, even though there have been countless acres, in my opinion, countless acres. I mean, this thing went all the way from Nebraska, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Iowa. I didn't hear anything about Ohio, but up in that region of area where there is a lot of grain grown has sustained some serious weather damage. Now, I'm not saying that it's going to be a complete loss, but no matter what you do, you will have loss. I have had these issues in the past, years ago, before I quit growing grain. And even last year, I had downed corn. And it was a battle. It was a battle to get it through that combine. This year, I'm upgrading my corn header, and we're going to have a little less issues with, no down stalks, thank the Lord. This is our second hurricane that's come over us. We're in the middle of it right now. We're supposed to get upwards of 4 inches. I don't know that we are actually going to get that because we're in a little bit of a lull right now. So coming up behind the blank space is going to be some red, which could dump a ton of water on top of us. I'm expecting a guest today. My friend Richard Peak, R Peak. He is another YouTuber. You can check him out. It's R Peak on YouTube. I've met him in the past. He has built me a gas can banjo. Yep, a gas can banjo. I had a John Deere can, and he had a John Deere can, and I got the John Deere can from him. I paid for it. I swapped him a bigger can, and I see that he sold that can. He never did make another banjo out of it, but he sold that can, or supposed to have sold that can up in Maine here, because he is moving. He's moving all of his stuff from Maine to Georgia. I'm a little bit sad to see him move, and I'm going to tell him that because, Maine is a beautiful place, and would I live there? I doubt it. I doubt that I would ever live in Maine, but I think Maine is one of those states that is like stalled on growth. The reason I say it's stalled on growth is because the summers are hot and the winters are cold. It's a pretty brutal area to live in, but it is a pretty place, and there is work there, but you got to be tough and hardy. Would I move up there? Probably not. Would I like to go see more of Maine? Hell yeah. I'd love to see Acadia. I'd love to see all those things that are up there. I'd love to take a boat up through there. It's just some of the more beautiful areas. But anyways, enough on him. He's coming. We're going to pick some banjos. I don't think I have a set of strings, but I got a banjo that sits up there and two more in the other room, and I'm not going to play anything on here. After my Lyme disease, my fingers don't seem to work like they used to, and we're going to see how it goes. And I will tell you that when this gas can banjo comes today, you'll see me picking on that thing, because I'm excited about it. I really am. He has made it so that she resonates really well, and he said it was probably the best one he ever built. It was a neck that my father had bought for me for my birthday one year, or Christmas. I think it was Christmas. Bought me a neck, and Richard has all kinds of parts. He used to build banjos and repair banjos and do all kinds of banjo stuff, and he plays a little bit different style than what I was playing, but it's all claw hammer, but he would do a drop thumb, and I never quite got that. And maybe today we'll be able to, when he gets here, we'll pick around a little bit, and maybe he can teach me a few things, and maybe I'll just pick that banjo back up and make these fingers work. And it's just life gets busy, and you put down the things you enjoy, and the banjo is actually one of them. I really enjoyed playing that. And then I was picking it back up again, and Mr. William, he would grab my banjo strings and throw it out of tune, so I just put it back away. But he's at that age now that I should probably be able to pick it up again. Anyway, yeah, so as far as the corn and the soybean prices are concerned, if you can store it, stick it in an old barn somewheres, whatever you've got to do to hold on to it until, say, January, February, March, I think it will pay you dividends, and that's what I'm going to try and do. I'm gonna run that corn through the dryer, and I'm going to empty out the building down below, the trench silo. I'm going to dry that corn, and I'm going to run the corn into that trench silo, and we're going to fill that sucker up. I think I can probably get another 10,000 bushels in there, 10 to 15,000 bushels in there, and the bin will hold 23, 25, depending on the test weight, and that the trench silo should easily hold 10,000 bushels or more. It probably will hold more. It's pretty big building. I'll have to clean it out and throw some plastic down. I don't even think I'm going to throw plastic down. I'm going to clean it out, and then I'm going to put those big old concrete blocks in front of it so that I can just fill it in the back, pull it forward, and then, fill it that way. I've done this in the past. I did it years ago with wet corn. What a pain in the ass. So I'm going to do it with dry corn this go around. And yeah, it's a risk, but it's a risk I'm willing to take because I just need to have as much corn as I can possibly get stored to follow this price. And I'm sure most of you guys out there that are growing corn and soybeans are kind of in the same boat, if you have it, you've got it and you need the storage, but I don't have storage. I gave up grain, and when I went into this corn this year, I suspected that the price would be where it is right now, but I didn't expect the crop that I'm going to have. I really didn't. I expected to be able to sell 30,000 bushels and then, and then stow the rest. But the price keeps going down, and also that price of fertilizer keeps going up, which is annoying me. Big time annoying me. You take a fertilizer that it just seems to have no ceiling to it. The price has doubled from a year ago. Ow, something hurt. The price has doubled from a year ago. If you haven't been following the fertilizer prices, buddy, hold on to your ass because it's going to hurt. These high prices, you need to get as much money out of this crop as you can because And if it's at the expense of the consumer, well, so be it, because we've been producing cheap food for decades, and the consumer has enjoyed cheap prices of food, and they've been able to, you know, do whatever. And I know there's a lot of people out there say, well, we see the farmers running fancy equipment. Every once in a while, we'll get thrown a bone, you know, and that's about right. And sometimes people overpurchase and they end up going down the tubes, and somebody else gets to buy that equipment. Right now, the farm economy is high, but it's only high for a while until all our input costs go through the roof, like diesel fuel. Diesel fuel is double what it was last year. Fertilizer, double what it was last year. Parts, 4%, 5%, 6% increases on parts. It's just insanity. They've discontinued some of the parts for the older equipment, like my TR96. I may not be able to get all the new parts that I would like to get for that combine because it just doesn't exist in the OEM world. Once they get 10 years old, they don't want to support them anymore anyway. Fortunately, the TR96 went all the way up to the TR98 model, and that's even 20 years old now. So the 99 was a little different, but the 99 took the same header, so I can get header parts and things like that, because the CB or the CR combines, 9080s and whatever the hell they were that they came out with later, still share some parts, so you're able to get through that way. But there's a big old boneyard up here where I can go and get elevators and bits and pieces that I need for my combine. I'm going to need to get a piece of metal on my discharge auger that is rotted out. People that owned the combine before me never stored it inside, and you know, they did store it inside once in a while, but it wasn't stored very well, so that combine needs help. Yeah, so that's the story. I don't know what the story really is, but I do know that, you know, we have the opportunity here to make a little bit of money, and the equipment manufacturers, the fertilizer plants, all of these other companies, and you know, that can gouge the farmer when they're trying to get ahead or able to get ahead. You know, that's kind of shitty that they can put those prices up like that. And I don't know. You see, when a farmer makes money, land doesn't go up for sale and development doesn't happen, you know, because other farmers will buy that land. And, you know, shitty ground goes to the developers. Here in New Jersey, they have a thing called farmland preservation, which preserves farmland, but not all farmland is preservable, believe it or not. They go through and they do soil types and tests, and if this is productive farmland, then you get a different rate of money to preserve that farm, meaning you sell off your building rights to the government and they pay you out of it. We voted on this, and there's money available to purchase land like that. Now, if you've got good ground, you get a higher rate. If you got bad ground, you get lesser rate. And unless you have an attachment to that ground, you know, like you were raised there, your family was, you know, you farmed it, your kids want to continue to farm it, even though it's marginal soil, which is a lot of my land. You know, they just say, well, you know what, the developer's going to give me $10, $12, $14, $18, $20,000 an acre for it to develop it. And you're only offering me $5,000 an acre for it. You know, the correlation there is that when you sell your building rights, you get to keep the land, you know, and you can still rent that soil to a farmer or, you know, enjoy that ground just like you did before, and you get your pockets lined with X number of dollars per acre. But there's a lot of people out there that don't put two and two together and say, oh, well, if I sell it to the developer, I get to move to Florida and look at a beach all day, and you know, I don't have to worry about it, which is what a lot of people want to do. There are other people that will sell it to a developer instead of selling the preservation rights and then selling it to somebody who wants to actually farm it or whatever, enjoy somebody else farming it from their front porch, you know, and things like that. There's just a lot of ignorance when it comes to farmland preservation here in this state. Uh, I know there were guys that would go out and that had money that would buy a piece of property. They would preserve the piece of property. They would get enough money to really basically almost pay for the property and then turn around and sell that property for, a horse farm, or, they would leave an excluded area where you could build a house on barren ground, and it was left as a beautiful piece of property that somebody else could enjoy, because there's a piece of property for everybody, and the farmer could still farm it even if it was marginal soil. There's a lot of that stuff that goes on. And then there's political stuff. There's always politics in everything we do here in New Jersey and elsewhere in the country. It's, a piece of property that is split by two different townships. Those were the worst ones to preserve. You either had Township A that had the money to preserve their side of the farm, and Township B squandered their money on parks and recreation and didn't have the money for the preservation. So here you got a farmer that wants to preserve his land, and A has the money, B doesn't have the money. C, they're like, well, we can't do anything until B gets the money, and it takes years and years. So if you're ever going to preserve a piece of land in New Jersey, see to it that you go through state direct. Don't even bother with your township and your municipality. They really see that money in farmland preservation as a pot at the end of the rainbow that they can dip their hands in for pet projects. When it comes down to what it was actually intended for, it's either not there, or they want to nitpick you out of, $500 an acre on 100 acres, which turns into a fair amount of money. And, like Township A says, well, your land is worth $8,500 an acre to preserve it. And Township B says, well, you're only worth $6,500 on our side of the line. You need to, just be happy you're getting that from these people. Now they need to all come together and agree on a rate and be done with it, instead of being douchebags about it. But that's what happens here. Elsewhere in the country, if farmers make too much money, then developers have nothing to develop. And, we love what we do. We love to complain about some of the things that we do, too. I mean, I'm not alone in this. I'm not the only one that complains. Everybody complains about what you lose, what you gain, the profit margins, the cost of equipment when you need to replace something, and you're still getting the same price for your product you did 20 years ago, but the price of the machine that you're replacing has increased 100-fold. I mean, back in 1977 when we bought our 4430, I think they paid $21,000 for that tractor. I could still sell the tractor for $21,000. Now, of course, the inflation rate has, $21,000 in today's money doesn't get you what it did in 1977. So you took that $21,000 back then, it might be $150,000. Who knows? I have no idea. I mean, I don't have those charts in front of me that I could do that. But I do know that corn and soybeans in the 70s and early 80s pricing should be somewhere in the $20 a bushel for beans, and $10 to $15 for corn. That's what it should be. Of course, our yields have increased. I remember when my dad broke 150 bushels to the acre, and he was just ecstatic. He's like, "Wow, man, we broke 150 bushels to the acre on this farm." I was like, "Wow, that's great." The sky's the limit. I don't think corn can produce any much more than that. I averaged 216. If I got 150 bushels to the acre, I would feel as though I would have lost money. It costs $157 and 157 bushels to grow to cover your expenses right now. That's what it was this spring. 157 bushels at the current rates and price. 150, maybe it was 157 last year. 153 this year. But last year the price has shifted. So I made good money last year. I'm not going to lie about that. This year I'm going to make okay money as well. But next year. If I don't do what I'm doing right now for next year, then you can lose your shirt growing corn and soybeans. You can. The corn fodder, is out of the mushroom barns. Nobody wants it. They realize that there's too much ash in it. Ash is dirt. If you didn't know that, it's ash content. Anytime you hear somebody talk about forage and ash, you don't want ash in your forage, your hay, your corn silage, or any of that stuff. If you ever watch choppers go through the field and they leave a foot of stalk, it's generally in sandy conditions because the sand wears the parts out on your chopper, and it's ash, and ash does nobody any good. Same thing in the mushroom industry. Ash is bad. So there's no corn fodder going into the mushroom growers. There's one company out here in Pennsylvania that is taking it. I've called them several times. They don't answer. I pissed them off in 2008, and I haven't gotten a phone call back. So I'm going to have to, if I want to sell corn fodder to them, and I don't care if it's $70 a ton, it's fine. It'll be okay. It's a product that I can get rid of. If not, I'll sell it for $75, and it can go to bedding up in New York, because it's cheap bedding. I won't be making that until later in the year. So, but that's just the way that goes. Even if I don't make the corn fodder, even if I don't make the corn fodder, the profitability on the corn crop this year is going to be more than enough to, sustain another year of corn and give me a few bucks left over in the end. Pay my fertilizer bill, which is $230,000. I haven't been able to pay it yet because, well, things that were out of my control. But anyway, that's just life. Anyway, I guess I'm just going to end this here. It's 22 minutes in. I guess I could probably read some comments if I want to. Give me a second here while I change accounts, because I haven't actually done a comment reading in quite some time. So maybe that's what I'll do. So we'll just go to content here. And August 4th was the last one that we did. I know the Eastern Shore farmer, he wants me to talk about Joe Biden. And what I feel about Joe Biden is right here on my hat, if you didn't recognize or see that. If you want to purchase this hat, my wife will make them. She makes shirts as well. Just send me an email at onelonelyfarmer@yahoo.com, onelonyfarmer@yahoo.com. We will figure out, I'll give you a link to my PayPal account or that email address will go to the PayPal account, but you must speak to us before you do that. And you put it through my PayPal account, and Teresa will make you a hat or even a shirt. I'd say it'd go on the shoulder there. And quality shirts, obviously we don't do anything that's not quality. This hat is a very nice hat. It's E-Conscience is what the brand of this hat is. I kind of like it. It's a nice hat. I should send one out to my friend, Mr. Whale and Wire's Old Iron. I think he would probably wear it, but he might not because he doesn't get political, but he'd wear it when he wasn't on camera. Anyways. Call weights and measures. Okay, so I was talking about the... The problem is you're having with the compost is the exact same problem cattle producers are having with meat packers. Record low prices in the auctions and store prices are through the roof. Might look into hogs herd. There's good money in them. Now, hogs swing wildly. That's Bagwell Farms. I'm not interested in hogs. For my own consumption, yes, I would be fine. Chickens, I got to buy chicks. Teresa wants to raise up some chickens, and in 7 weeks it'll be time to slaughter them, which is a good time in the fall to do that, and there's plenty for them to eat. So, okay, the late great Rush said, Rush Limbaugh. If you don't know who Rush Limbaugh is, you're young, or you've been living under a rock for the last 40 years. But only Rush Limbaugh said America is the only country on earth with fat poor. In all seriousness, you can consider political office, maybe the U.S. House of Representatives. Someone with your background would be a great asset on several committees. I can think of. Well, I actually thought of doing this, but you know what? When the hell am I going to have time to run to Washington? Of course, I could, I guess. I think it would be fun, maybe. And could you see me in a suit? I don't think so. I'd be like, I'd rip the sleeves out of them. I hate those things. I'd be like Jim Jordan, I guess. And as for temperament, I don't have the temperament for that. I would lose my temper, and I would spit on Nancy Pelosi, probably end up with millions of fines and thrown out off the House floor every day of my life. Yeah. In the U.S., we grow too much corn. We milk too many cows. We have not diversified agriculture at all. It's hurting us in many ways. Well, that is the way the USDA has set up the food supply. It used to be that a farmer did chickens, cows, and pork, hogs, and they grew some corn, they grew some soybeans, they grew some wheat, they grew some alfalfa, some clover, some hay, grass hay. They sold the excess, right? That was how it worked. They sold the excess. Well, selling the excess is not a consistent supply. It's just not. So if farmer A, me, grew 25 hogs a year, and I raised 25 beef cows, and I raised 2,000 chickens, and I had 200 egg-laying, chickens. 200. I could probably make an okay living doing that, but animals die, disease happens, and it just, for the food supply chain, if I have a disease, my neighbor won't have that disease. The reason you hear about these diseases that go through these animal facilities is because they're not raising, 20 cows or 20 hogs. They're raising 20,000 or more every year, each one of these facilities. Same thing with corn and soybeans. If I grew 300 acres of corn, and my neighbor grew 300 acres of corn, and my other neighbor grew 300 acres of corn, and my other neighbor grew 300 acres of corn, we'd be 900 acres of corn. And, there you go. Same thing with beans, and 900 acres of beans, and 900 acres of wheat, and 900 acres of hay, and 900, as it goes down the line. But the profit margins are so thin at those rates that you have to get much larger. And it's like me producing 3,700 acres of hay for a mushroom company. And, it's like, 3,700 acres of hay. Oh, I'm a groundhog. I'm not a groundhog. It's just what I have to do in order to make a living and produce. And if I don't have that, I go broke. And then I have to go work in a factory or Amazon or Walmart or something like that, which I would never do. I would be, or drive truck, which would drive me insane. And I don't even want those regulations. But yeah, there's a lot of things that it's just the way that it's set up that you can't be diversified like that on a small scale. And to diversify on a large scale, the investment into that diversification is so great anymore that no one man or one farmer can do that. Now, you can have a farm family where son A, son B, nephew C, nephew D each has their area of expertise or what they want to do within that agriculture, that business. And you can do it that way, which would be okay. But like for me, I got nobody that really wants to take on responsibility that way. it isn't. Timothy doesn't want any responsibility. Cody thought he wanted responsibility. I don't know if he does yet or not. He thought, well, he thought that there would be more custom work for his baler, and he would be able to do more custom work, which is fine. I would have had him do more custom work up north, but he didn't want to run corn stalks through his baler, which I don't blame him. It's hard on stuff. But again, it's a tough business. Agriculture's tough. But I don't really have anyone that says, hey, you know what, Uncle Wes or Dad, I would like to raise chickens here. Can we put up a chicken facility? And then I would say, sure. What do you want to do? And it's getting dark. So this chicken facility, or hey, I want to raise hogs and I want to raise cattle. If I had each one of those, or Uncle Wes, I want to do the corn. Okay, fine. I'll stick with the hey, you do the corn, or we'll do the corn together. You do 500 acres, I do 500 acres, and the rest is get some risk or some skin in the game. But I don't have anybody like that. I can see this farm at a point, if my little guy here doesn't want to take it over when I get old, or if my other children don't step up to the plate, or my nephews don't step up to the plate, that will just, when I get old and can't do what I do anymore, then it'll be time for retirement. And then the equipment gets sold, and the farm has to stay in the family. It has to, and and that's just the way it is. So we've got that sort of thing going on. I'm hoping and praying that these kids grow up and decide they want some skin in the game. Really, honestly, I don't want to be the last of a line of farmers in this area that does the volume or to the extent I've worked too hard for it. My dad worked too hard for it. My grandparents worked too hard for it. My great-grandparents worked too hard for it. My great-grandparents bought this farm in 1925. 1925, they bought it. My grandparents bought it off of my grandparents in 1959, and it has passed on to my father and my mom and dad and my aunt since then. So, obviously I'm the oldest son, and I work the farm, so I imagine it would be passed on to me. I don't know what their ideas are for estate planning. I know some of it, but it's fine. One way or the other, if it doesn't pass to me, then you know what? That's fine too. If there's a order when when my parents pass away, my aunt passes away, that it has to be sold and the money divided up amongst the siblings and the nephews and niece, then my children, whatever, I have no control over that. I have to obey those, and that's just the way it is. And I get on a sailboat and sail around the world with what I have amassed in my lifetime. And that's just the way that works. And it would be a sad thing to have happen, but you never know. You never know. But anyway, I guess I've rambled on now for 33 minutes. And let's see, maybe I'll take another one. Mushroom barn wants dry hay, but what's the first thing they do when they get it? They cut it open, bale, spray water. Well, they don't want to pay for moisture. For the most part, they don't. They pay for moisture. They don't want to pay for moisture. They can add moisture. I say that they shouldn't even bother. They should take that. They dock us down to 20%. They used to be 15%, but 20%. Dock you down to 20% moisture, and then they add water because they can control the amount of water that goes onto it, and that's why they do that. You're 100% accurate in explanation of how it works. You're not looking for a charity. You're looking for a competitive price and quality products. Thank you. This year, they are not going to get the quality of a hay product that they got last year. I am not going to take the great cares to, like I did last year, come the new year, pulling all the tarps off, letting it get saturated wet, and I'll take the dockage. I don't give a flying shit, because you know what? I feel that there's no fairness in the mushroom business anymore, the mushroom growing business anymore. Ah, here we go. Did OLF mention the potential reputation damage of the straw pile? Reputation damage of small straw piles that were left untransported in North Carolina. When wheat farmers in North Carolina could have stipulated a specific last pickup date and the straw piles after the storage fee for X amount of time, if not removed after the piles are burnt, etc. It is possible to fumigate in New Jersey hay to get the export certificate in regards of insects and concerns. Well, all of that stuff is a thing. The thing with the removal date, it's in the contract. The farmers do know that it will be picked up. There is no specific end date to when it will be picked up. The mushroom grower or the composter will get those broken down piles gathered up. They will. There's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. They have to. It has to be done. They're going down with walking floors and they are cleaning it up. It is not my business after I leave there to talk with the farmers, even though I do talk with a couple of the farmers that are down there when I leave, even though it's not my business. It's not my business. It's not my business. Whatever the mushroom grower does or the mushroom producer does, or the people that actually own that straw after I leave there, it has nothing to do with me. My contract states bale, stack, standing when I leave. And it was all like that. Now, they are coming in now to start picking up new hay. New straw, New straw. They call it hay down there, but new straw. Yeah, so could you have some mushroom barn with the funky moisture probe for their certification on that probe? Yeah. They have a regular little thing that they stick on there to calibrate it. I've seen it. It is what it is. But anyway, I'm going to let this one go. I've got a thought in my mind that I have to get online here and I have to order some stuff. I have some things that need to be ordered, and I don't like spending money when I'm not getting paid. I haven't been, well, let's put it this way. I am owed over 30 loads of material right now, and one mushroom barn has not paid me since May. Yeah, May. Not since May. And they've been getting hay straw for a while. So anyways, have a nice day.